Hey, there we are. Now it says we're going. Hey, what's up, folks? It's your old pal Schmucker again here. The great thing about Michiana Christian Camp is the Wi-Fi and the signal up in this area is, as you've ever experienced with a cell phone, is not that good. But life goes on. It's the joy of doing these live videos, and it's part of the reason why I love them and why I keep them live, because I want that aspect. But I'm here with my buddy Troy Cleland, live in Niles, Michigan, at Michiana Christian Camp. And buddy, again, it's a pleasure. For those that might be watching this the first time, again, we'll have to kind of go through some things that we've already maybe went through. I don't know if you've caught the first part of the first one, but we're just going to rewind, whatever you want to call it. But the video is being made possible by Clevenger Insurance Agency at 525 East Center Street.
Is actually a first time for me. So this is interesting.
But it says we're going, so.
Excellent. All right. Well, here it is. I'm Troy, and I grew up in a very small town in Ohio called Gambier, and I loved growing up in a small community. I have 3 other siblings, and we grew up on a small hobby farm. We went to church just down the road, Grove Church of Christ, and we ended up being there for quite a while, and then we went into some other different churches. But I learned just simple life is great. And my dad, he was a science teacher in high school, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom. And so we made it work. We lived in a very simple house. We had a barn, corn crib, and we didn't really have any livestock, but we had a big garden. And that's where I spent my childhood. I had a creek that ran through the property. My grade years. In fact, I loved art so much that I wanted to do it in college, and I was accepted to the Columbus School of Art and Design, but I didn't go. I ended up going to a program called Summer in the Sun in Kentucky, which is a program for high school students like your CIY, and I was challenged that I needed to go into ministry, and so I ended up going to Kentucky Christian College and got my business degree there, and I also met my wife there, graduated from there, and ended up in Michigan as a facilities director for Michiana Christian Service Camp. From there, we spent a couple years here, found out it was extremely overwhelming for a college kid, and so we bowed out of that and moved back to Virginia, where she was from. And I got a job framing houses, and that's like the base level. I didn't know much, but by the end I was able to pour footers and do block and frame houses, and all the way to the ridge. Then I got hired into the fire department. I was a professional firefighter for about 6 years, and that was quite an experience. Really missed the guys, and I was a part of a pretty large company. I was engineer on one of the pumpers and backup on our ladder truck, and I spent half my time riding an ambulance, and saw a lot of things that were hard, but it's very rewarding to be able to serve and help people. these camps were asking for me to interview. I hadn't talked to these guys in years, and it was just very interesting to hear them both on the answering machine after I got home from a week of camp. And so my wife and I prayed, and we leaned into that possibility, and long story short, we ended up going to West Virginia as a facilities director. We moved from our house that we had remodeled for 6 years into a 396 square foot cinder block cabin. My daughter slept on a flat mattress for 8 months until we got a cottage built there on the camp. And then we did some other projects. And then after 3 years, I got a phone call from Michiana asking if I was interested in interviewing here. And I agreed. And we came up, had an interview, and we were hired. I was hired as the operations manager. And then after 8 years, I'm now the director. And it has been quite the journey. It has been challenging, it's been rewarding, it's been hard, it's been good. So that's me in a nutshell. I've been married for 20 years to my wife Melissa, and we have a 16-year-old daughter who's a junior at Berrien Springs High School.
Sounds like a great experience, man, and we'll get a little bit more to that here in a minute. And it's kind of hard doing these live videos because we've been through these questions, and I'm trying like, well, what do I say different that I didn't say last time? I don't want to sound like a broken record, but it's the joy of doing live videos. And part of the reason I love it is because you get anything, whatever life throws your way, it's kind of what you get, and you get to respond accordingly. So I'd kind of teased him about his gray a little bit ago we were originally talking, so if you caught that, hopefully you got a good laugh out of it.
I hope
but
so.
We also talked about what's your favorite classic cartoon?
Part of the reason why I wanted to go into animation is because I loved cartoons and Disney movies so much. And I do love the classic cartoons. Looney Tunes are definitely high on the list, but at the very top is most definitely Tom and Jerry. And so you just said earlier you're a Tom and Jerry fan.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm thinking perhaps we should have a Tom and Jerry marathon, invite the kids, and just have a good time with that. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. Anybody can come. But Tom and Jerry is where it's at. That cat and mouse, that cloak and dagger, they just make me laugh.
Yeah, and you talk about classic cartoons, and I'd mentioned a little earlier that growing up, I had a place on the lake in South Haven, or my parents. We get to talk more about camp here in a little bit, but before we get too much farther, it looks like somebody wants tagged. Oh, let's see who wants tagged. Joe Clevenger. He's the sponsor. We probably ought to tag him.
Hey, Joe.
You're in, buddy. But so how has life's experiences molded and shaped you into who you are today?
In conjunction with the first question you asked about who I am, I kind of give you a synopsis or kind of like an excerpt of what my life has been thus far. And I can honestly say that during that time, especially right after high school, kind of figuring I know what I want to do, and then almost immediately not knowing what I want to do and asking God, what are you doing with my life? So I'm going to college to do camp, and now I'm in camp. Now I'm not in camp because it's just I just don't feel like this is where you're leading me. And then I'm going to building houses, You know, I'm I mean, that's really, it's hard work. I have a 4-year degree, and I'm building houses for $8 an hour. You know, and then I've been trying to get into the fire department after a fail or two. Not really a fail. It's just I just didn't get in. I did get in with the Suffolk Fire Department, and from there a new adventure started, completely unrelated to camp, completely unrelated to ministry. So I thought, but after 6 years, I not only got to know the guys really well, was able to be the chaplain, and was able to use myself as a tool for ministry there. And then during that time was called back into camp ministry. Up until this point, fast forwarding, I can look back and see how God has been preparing me for what I'm doing right now. So I have experience with building, which we're almost finished with a building project that the camp has been doing for the past 7 months. I've got what I'm doing and how I've been molded today. So it's not until you look back to see how God is planning your future. So it's really cool.
Yeah, and I kind of hinted too about, I mean, some of the journey that I've been on. You know, I mean, 20 years buried in alcohol addiction and in the mountains and valleys, and I mean, I spent 10 years doing radio, and ever since I left radio, I mean, I've had job after job after job after job that, and all of them I can look back that I've lost because of just excessive drinking. But at the same point in time, I can look back, and every single one of them, I've learned something. I mean, it might be who I don't want to be, but I know who I do want to be, and that is somebody that gets up, that's purposefully intentional each day about being the hands and feet of Jesus and being like, okay, what can I do for you today? How could I use the gifts and abilities that you've given me to maybe help somebody else? And I mean, it sounds like that's, I mean, exactly what you're doing. I mean, you're intentional about it, and you pour into these kids that come to camp and the people that come and help out. I mean, the roots that go are, they're deep, and I love it. I mean, I think it's great. And where we kind of stopped the last one was at this question here, but who or what inspires and encourages you?
Yeah, that is a good question for anybody to answer. For me, Jim Matthews comes to mind as far as at the very top there. He's been my wingman for quite a long time. I told you I grew up in the middle of Ohio, a little town called Gambier, and he was our youth minister. I was introduced to him when I was 11, and through the course of, I don't know, 20 some years, we've done ministry together. We've traveled together, puppet ministry. We've even worked together here at the camp. But whenever I've had a struggle or an issue, he was always there as a mentor, accountability partner, a brother, whatever you want to say. So he definitely is a mentor of mine. My dad, got to give him mad credit for being a good dad. He was not the lovey-dovey, I love you, but I knew he loved me because he was there for me. He was a very smart intellectual, but very practical. He enjoyed the simpler things of life. he was more of the meat and potatoes kind of a guy. He didn't take much. It didn't take much for him to be happy, and I enjoy some of the same simple pleasures as he does. You know, a nice lawn chair, a campfire with a hot dog. I mean, those are the things that have brought me joy. And he's been a great mentor. Whenever I've needed some advice, I know I could go to him for some pretty wise counsel. So it's been good. Those two guys.
That's good. And I mean, I'd highly recommend if you don't have a mentor or maybe somebody to provide some accountability in your life, find somebody. Could be somebody older, could be somebody younger, could be somebody the same age as you are, but find somebody that's done the things that you want to do and surround yourself with them. Learn from their experiences. Let them learn from your experiences too. I mean, share in life with people. Let them hold you accountable. I mean, not so much telling you that you need to or don't need to do this, but somebody that can hold you accountable for what you're doing. I mean, I think that's so important to have that in our lives. What is life like in Southwest Lower Michigan?
Honestly, my brother lives in Tampa, Florida, and he's been asking, you need to come down. It's just, it's all sunny all the time. I'm like, no, you should come up here. It's practically gray all the time. And to be honest with you, I'm just joking around. It is beautiful up here. What I love is the smaller communities, and I like the slower pace. I have really enjoyed the relationships that have been cultivated through the different churches, and especially all of the people that we've gotten to meet because of the camp. But Southwest Michigan, we've got 20 minutes, and we've got Lake Michigan, we've got St. Joe, and some great pizza parlors. We've got just a little bit of everything. If we want big city, we get on a train and we go to Chicago for the day, go see the Cubs, right behind third base.
KB.
That's right. So I've enjoyed this area. We've lived in West Virginia, we've lived in Ohio, Kentucky, and Virginia Beach, and so of all the places that we've hung our hat, this feels good, this feels right, and we really enjoy this area. So yeah, and the fruit farms are really cool too. So I mean, there's a little bit of everything.
There's a lot that goes on around Michigan and I mean Southwest Michigan. I mean, there's a ton.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a lot. It's a beautiful place, especially when you get towards the fall and all the leaves changing, and then you get summertime. You can go lake, and I could probably go on and on just with that one alone. So let's talk a little bit about camp. So what is like Michiana Christian Camp for those that might not know? Like what is it? What are you guys all about?
I could tell you what it's not. First, and I think people are under this impression that Michiana Christian Camp is a summer camp, and then for the rest of the year it's just nothing, and that could be farther from the truth. Yes, we are a summer camp, but we are active and we are so busy year round with rentals, with our own programming, family camps, trivia nights, older adult celebration, women's retreats, and we have 7 to 8 weeks of summer camp. So to answer your question, what it is we're basically a place that people can come to retreat, that the people can come to know that our mission is about relationships that are going to last forever. It's not just someplace just to feel good. This has an eternal impact and eternal rewards through relationships. And so when we invite our guests to come out, we really want them to stay a while, to really invest their heart into not just a beautiful environment, not just the things that we have, but to really separate yourself from the world. And so our staff, not just our full-time staff, but our summer staff who pour into this ministry, understand what that mission and that vision is. We want to make Christ known through the memorable experiences that they have here, through relationships, and through being able to struggle together through their day-to-day issues that life constantly throws at us, so through the camp friendships and the relationships. And you can just go to Facebook and you'll probably have a number of people that you have really grown with because of camp. And I think that's what's very special.
Is that
Yeah, the launch.
the launch?
Yeah.
So I think we're going to come up for that here in a couple of weeks, and I would probably be remiss if I didn't mention Jeremy and Brandy Kelly. They're really good friends of ours, and Brandy, thanks to her for driving me up here today. Not that I didn't know about where I was going, but I didn't want to get lost. So thanks to her for driving us up here today.
Cool.
And I definitely appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I love camp. I talked about Ernest Goes to Camp earlier.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's kind of what I think of camp. That's the idea in my mind that I have.
What camp is.
Ernest Goes to Camp.
Okay.
But and I'm gonna forewarn you that when I come up for family camp, I'm having back surgery on the 17th of May. So I'm only going to be like 6 or 7 days removed from having back surgery. So you better have a comfy place for me.
No problem. So you're not going to be in a volleyball tournament?
Probably not going to be in the volleyball tournament. Probably not going to be out there playing too much croquet. And
Well, we have carpet ball tournament, and that doesn't require much. But that's up to you. See, that's the great thing about family camp. You can pick and choose what you want to do. I mean, you can lay around, drink a sweet iced tea, and read a book all weekend. We have programming for kids and for adults that want to get involved. But if you don't want to do anything, that's cool too.
Well, I'm going to tell you, when my back heals, I'm going to want to get involved. I'm going to be in that volleyball. I'm going to be playing that softball, the kickball, whatever we got going on. I'm all about it.
Pretty competitive, I'm just saying. The volleyball tournament that draws a crowd, I'm just saying.
Throwing elbows?
No, we'll kick you out.
So, I mean, what does camp mean to you personally?
I gave my life to Christ because of a week of camp, and with the people that I was surrounded with, that's where it started off. I've gone to camp since I was kindergarten. First Chance Camp. I went to Round Lake Christian Assembly. When I got into junior high, I loved it so much that I've started volunteering in the kitchen. We call ourselves pot lickers, or the kitchen crew. And so we got to go to camp without having to pay for it. We just had to do all that dirty work, and it was great. And then eventually became faculty to counsel. And then I became college student, and I got a summer job here as the rec director. There was only one. There wasn't program staff, so it was just me running all the activities. And then eventually, and it was a lifeguard and maintenance, and eventually I got hired on here full time. But what camp truly means to me is when I look outside my office and I see these kids that have the weight of the world on their shoulders, but they're just having fun, playing nine square in the air, engaging with each other face to face rather than text to text. It makes me feel very good. And then when you introduce Jesus into that conversation, good things, very good things happen. So one of my favorite things to do is to put all my paperwork down, put all the work away, and I'll go out and I'll join them in a game or two. And I get to know their name and their story. And so that's what I love about the power of camp.
Yeah, and especially too, we talked about, and I wanted to make sure that we got this point out there. You were talking about the Generation Zs, and we talked about this before we'd even started the video. But you had mentioned that there's a number of kids that don't even know who Jesus is. I mean, you mentioned his name, and you get a blank stare.
Yeah. I mean, right now I think we're behind the 8 ball, especially in our churches. No offense, churches, but I think that we're feeling like we're trying to get ahead by understanding the millennial. Consider normal conversation, but a desensitization, desensitizing to what this world is really. They're living, their reality is the unreality. And when kids come, and not necessarily here, because most of the time when kids come to camp, they know who Jesus is. But overall, in our schools, they've been bombarded with so many different ideologies, so many different religions, so many different gender confused. They're just so off the rails. They don't know what's upside down and right side up. And so for many of them, they don't even know who Jesus is, let alone his name. So we're experiencing for the very first time in a long time a generation who doesn't know who Jesus is at all, and that is alarming. But at the same time, what do you do with that?
Where they're at for Jesus. And I think there's just such a need for people to feel loved, to feel valued, and to just, they want to see what Jesus looks like. Not what maybe so much the church tells them what he looks like. I think they want to see people in the church showing them, okay, here's my life. Here's what my relationship with Christ looks like. You nailed it right on the head that the generation today, like the kids growing up, their reality is the unreality. My kids watch more YouTube videos than they do anything else. I know I grew up watching the news, maybe watching some cartoons, and then I was outside.
Right.
Getting a drink out of the hose, and it's like you tell a kid to get a drink out of the hose now, and you'd probably get CPS called on you or something. But
yeah.
That's probably a whole nother video for a whole nother day. But so how can
specifically summer camp, our website is our best tool. So you go to michianacamp.org and you can scroll through there. You can get updated on what each session, each summer camp program is, who's leading it, how long, and what the cost is. And you can register online there. That's where you would go to sign up for camp. We also have paper registration, so if someone wants us to mail them one, just contact the office, 269-683-4403. You just look us up on the website. It gives you all of our contact information as well. I would highly encourage you to come on May 5th to our open house. For any parents, grandparents, students, maybe feeling a little reluctant about sending your kid or even coming to camp for the very first time. Maybe you've never stayed overnight, especially at a place you've never been. May 5th is called The Launch. It's our open house. It's free. You come. It's on a Sunday from 4 to 7. The radio station will be here. We've got fire department, big inflatables. We've got some games, free food, ice cream. Camp store will be open, and we're giving tours. And so you'll be able to come, fill your belly, get something sweet, and play some games, take a tour, and ask as many questions as you want until you feel that you're satisfied. We're going to be taking 2 tours around the camp. You'll be able to see a couple of new cabins that we've renovated. You'll be able to go in all of the buildings, including our wilderness huts, to see where your kids will be staying. So if you have questions that need to be answered, I encourage you to reach out to us. We're really good about being available for you. If you can't make it on the 5th, feel free to come out anytime. We're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Weekends, just let us know. We'll get on a golf cart and we'll just go around and answer your questions. So if you're interested, again, go to our website. We've got a few new programs that we're putting on. Art camp, which is going to be fun. Cooking camp, and carpentry camp. And so those are 3 camps that are going to be bundled together in the very beginning of August. Those are new for 6th through 12th graders, but all the other camps range from kindergarten through 12th grade. Some are only a day, some are only a few days, but most are full week from Sunday to Friday.
Sounds like a good time.
It is a good time.
I might find myself here a lot this summer.
You should. You can volunteer as a faculty member. If you're interested, contact the office and we can put you in a volunteer capacity.
And I will add in there. What's your favorite camp food?
Oh man, there's a reason why I'm 30 pounds over when I started here. My favorite?
S'mores? Hot dogs?
No. We have these, they're called KFC bowls. Mm-hmm. So it's so we have mashed potatoes we put in a bowl, and then we have this white gravy that we put over the top. And then some corn that goes on it, and then we have these chicken nuggets that we put on, and so that's usually served at a lunch or whatnot. But it is fantastic. However, the haystacks are pretty phenomenal as well, and so the haystacks are basically a glorified nachos, and so you've got your base of nacho chips, and you've got lettuce, and then you've got your taco meat, and you've got all your fixins.
Man, we stopped and ate on the way here, but I think I'm gonna stop on the way back home and get something else. I need some haystack nachos.
I'm telling you, Cheryl does a great job. Cheryl is our head cook, and if you have any like if your kid is celiac, gluten allergies or whatever, we do accommodate for that. But she does a great job. She makes a lot of stuff from scratch, and so we eat really well here. Yeah,
I love it. We got to stop talking about food. But lastly, the last question I have for you here is, how has Michiana Christian Camp changed your life?
Okay, so I'm going to be as transparent as a window right now. I think that when people think about camp, they think that there's just so much fun all the time, and we do have fun here, but it does come at a cost. We're on all the time, and I am not complaining about my job at all. But what has changed me is that I think oftentimes people in ministry can feel like they're expendable, that anything goes. So if we have something that we need to do, a lot of times we'll sacrifice our family in order to make that happen. Now, a lot of that falls on my shoulders, but the operation here at camp, we believe in its ministry, we believe how good it is, but a lot of times we sell ourselves and our family short to advance this ministry. I'm not saying it's right, but it happens a lot. And we go to these camp conferences where camp directors and program directors come together and talk about how to protect ourselves, because this is a nationwide thing. If you would, I'm asking for prayer for me and for my wife and my daughter. It can be heavy. And so it has changed me in very good ways, and it's changed me in a very difficult way. So I didn't mean to bring us down.
No, that I think that's what you talk about as transparent of a response as you can get. I don't think sometimes people do understand the pressures that are there, and maybe even our own pastors and our own preachers, and just, I mean, I know I've seen my dad. He's the plant manager of one of the orthopedic companies in Warsaw, and the sacrifices that we make for work, the sacrifices that we make for camp, the sacrifices that we make for, I mean, even myself, and maybe sometimes doing these videos. I think sometimes we can lose sight of the big picture, that the greatest thing we can give our family and our loved ones is our time. Mm. And if our mind is focused on somewhere else, they're not getting the best of us. Nor are we giving them the best of what Jesus has given us. So, I mean, prayer is definitely appreciated for, I mean, guys like Troy, for our pastors, for our leaders, period, as a whole. I think they need it. And it's the guys like Troy and the kids' teachers. I think that they definitely have an obstacle that I don't even know if I'd want to try and be a teacher in this day and age. I can't even imagine. But I mean, and you get it put together in the summertime. I mean, they all come from all different walks of life, from all different places with, I mean, I can't even imagine. I mean, how many kids probably come through here in a summer?
Well, we've had 5 years of consecutive growth. And to answer your question, we're about 850 kids, but you have to add how many faculty members, which we have 400 faculty members that come along with that, all of our staff, and all of these parents with future campers that come on registration day and pickup day. We literally have thousands of people that come here through the course of a summer. And you know, when we're dunking people, doing baptisms up at the pool on a Friday night, it really does make sense. You know, I want to give a real quick shout out to all those volunteers that have spent so much of their volunteer hours taken away from vacation and their families, that they've earned in their job to spend time here to do this ministry. Couldn't do this without you. We couldn't do summer camp without our faculty, without those that come and volunteer in the kitchen, and those that come out to help split wood. This is where a community comes together to put such an incredible ministry on for our young people. We need Christian camp ministry today, I think, even more than was needed yesterday. And I'm praying for more kids to come this summer. Currently, our enrollment is way up. So I'm expecting that we're going to have an even bigger summer this year than we did last year.
Yeah, and it's I mean, I tell you, when you were talking at our church, not last Sunday, but Sunday before, and the statistic that you talked about, and I'd mentioned it in Friday's video, but about the fact that you have kids as young as second graders contemplating suicide.
Yep.
I mean, I know my daughter is a second grader, and I know me personally, I've been through a suicide, like about as close as you can get without it being yourself. Mm-hmm. And kids need Jesus, and they need to see what positive examples of that look like with the adults. And I mean, being able to come to places like this, I mean, I don't think that we can turn a blind eye. I mean, it directly affects whether or not somebody's going to go into addiction, whether or not somebody might go into domestic violence, whether or not somebody might wind up homeless, whether or not, I mean, it spirals out. There's an effect that it's like dropping that pebble in a pond, and the ripples just hit everything, and you just hope that the kids that get to come through here can be that positive ripple for the kids around them.
Yeah.
So, man, I appreciate what you're doing, brother. And
thank you.
Despite all of our complications here, we managed to get through this live video. I hope it didn't cut out too much. And thanks again to all the folks that stuck around and made it through the whole thing with us. And again, it was made possible by Clevenger Insurance Agency. Stop on by and see him at 525 East Center in Warsaw, or you can find him on Facebook for all your home, auto, business, life, and health insurance needs. There's a link in the description. I'll also, after I post this, I'll put a link for Michiana Christian Camp, and you can find Troy on there too. He's tagged in the video as well. Tomorrow we'll be sitting down with my buddy John Conley, better known to most of you as Barber John. So I'm looking forward to sitting down with him and hearing more of his story. And again, I always put it out there, if you know somebody that's got a great story, I mean, everybody's got one, but I'm always looking for neat people to sit down with that maybe you know. Send them my way. I mean, I'd be happy to sit down and talk to them. Have a wonderful Tuesday. And again, I appreciate it, Troy.
No problem.
And I will see you guys tomorrow.